So, what do you think? Playing on a cruise ship, how's this been working out? We're a day out at sea, you did your first show last night. Justin, how'd it go?
It was wonderful. Great audience. One of the best shows we've had in a long time. Fabulous. Enjoyed it tremendously.
I was on the Rock Legends cruise in January, and I was talking to Paul Rogers for a little bit, and I said, so Paul, what was it like being up there? He goes, well, for a moment it felt like back in my drinking days in the 70s. But it was pretty smooth last night. Did you guys feel anything up there on stage?
Oh yeah, the vibe was magnificent.
Actually, for us it was like the 60s, never mind the 70s.
Well, it was funny at the end of the show, of course, you know, you typically will say, till we see you again, and then you corrected yourself, till I see you tomorrow, so here they are. And, you know, Graham, you mentioned last night, you know, seeing a lot of familiar faces. Are there truly a lot of familiar faces from all over the country? Are you good at remembering that?
Oh yeah, I saw there was a couple of fan friends from Germany and a lot of English people and of course loads of Americans. Canadians. And it's nice being around this long because we've all been through the 60s twice.
So is being on a cruise anything new? Justin, is this your first ever cruise?
No, as a matter of fact, we did one quite a few years ago for, I think it was for a computer company or something. It took more or less the same kind of route.
Okay.
It was very nice, yeah. Very nice.
And Graham, I know you've been on a cruise before. Matter of fact, I just hosted a trivia question, and one of the questions was how you lived on your yacht off one of the Greek islands in the late 70s. So being on the water is nothing new to you.
No, not at all. And I was born in the Greek island. I was all over the Mediterranean, came across the Atlantic and sailed all around there. In fact, right where we are now in this passage, I was going against the wind in a sailboat, getting lashed to shreds. It was nothing like this.
And John, for you, do you, you know, I know you enjoy the water, you've got a connection with Barbados and stuff, so I'm sure being on the water is nothing new for you as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a water sign anyway, being a Cancerian, so...
Yeah, baby.
So the water's great for me. I need to be near it all the while. It's brilliant.
And if I recall, one time we were having a conversation. Your daughter is a sailor, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, she actually sailed around the world in the O2 Challenge. And the interesting thing about it is, anybody who's a sailor will know, you normally try and sail with the wind, but the BT Challenge, you actually go against the wind all the way around the world. And so you're tacking all day long, going 20 miles one way, 20 miles the other way, and you've actually gone forward about a mile.
So way down south, sailing in between the icebergs. She's tougher than me.
And just to get back to last night's show, Justin, when...
I'm sorry, sir.
You know, the scene's calm, you can relax you. Last night's show, to get back to that, when do you know that you're connecting with an audience? Is there a moment in the show, is there a particular song, when do you know that?
Well, it was pretty obvious last night from the number of people dressed in blue with Moody Blues t-shirts. No, I don't think that's a problem for us. I mean, we love doing these songs, and that's what we're here for. And people come to a Moody Blues concert for a particular kind of music that we love and they love, and that's the whole point, to share it together. If ever we do a gig and we don't connect, you know, I know what we are, and I know you know, that we love doing these songs, so it doesn't really matter to us. But this is very special. So I knew from the you know, from the moment we went on that it was going to be wonderful, and it will be again later. Yeah. For the other half of the people who won't. Yeah.
I mean, the demand is great. This is a sold-out cruise, which
lovely.
speaks volumes.
Fabulous.
There you go, folks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, a lot of you did submit questions through the Moody's Cruise website, and so I have some of them here. And let's start. We're going to start with Justin. I'll direct this one at you, but anybody feel free to jump in at any point. This is from Terrence Ginn of Umatilla, Florida. He says, speaking of performances, that some performances, you had once said this, some performances will be remembered with affection for what went wrong.
Oh,
Can you share some of your most memorable experiences of absolute disasters on stage?
seeing Graham disappear over the back of his drum riser, that was a bit of a disaster. Seeing Mike with his head in the Mellotron at the Fillmore East on our first trip to America, that was when me, Graham and John and Ray just had to do the show ourselves, and he was still trying to fix it with a coat hanger. And then the one that I distinctly remember was that a guy got so carried away one night with with everything that he there's no nice way to say this, or delicate way, or discreet, or politically correct, but he had a false leg on, and by the end of the first song he didn't have it on anymore. He was just swinging it round his head, and it landed in excitement and in pleasure, and it landed between Ray and I. And I looked at Ray, and Ray looked at me, and then I looked at Ray, and Ray looked at me, and we could see it about to happen, and Ray's eyes were saying he wouldn't, would he? And I don't think so, and then he did. And so then so it just lay there for a while, and it had a white tennis shoe on the end. And a sock as well, yeah. And then a roadie kept running on stage. Here, Just, because people call me Just. Here, Just. He was from the West Country like I am. He said, "What do you want to do? What do you want to do?" I said, "I don't know, you know." I've got no idea. Poor chap. I just don't want somebody to leave hopping. So he said, so it was Mike Keys, our roadie. So he said, "Shall I kick it back?" So I said, yeah, kick it back. So he ran up and gave it a big kick, and the thing I remember most is that it described a very strange arc as it went through the air. You know what I mean?
Slow motion, no doubt.
Well, it wasn't quite. You know what I mean, don't you? Described a very strange elliptical arc as it went back. But it wasn't there when we finished the concert, so.
Well, apparently this still happens to this day, because it just happened.
I hope it's not going to happen tonight.
Aerosmith, on this last tour, Aerosmith was out, guy threw his leg up on stage, and then there came a point where he did need it back, and he had to hobble to the front and ask for it. And the band members had to look at each other and get a roadie, go backstage, get it, bring it back out for the guy. So,
We've done it all first.
I want to know. Graham, I want to know about flipping off the drum riser. What happened? Just missed your spot?
Oh, well, the thing about drums is they take up a lot more space than people think. And so very often they build a drum riser for it to sit on, and it's barely big enough. And this one, it just had enough room. There was 3 legs on that particular drum stool, and I could just get it on the back, and we were playing and things were going really well, and we came to the big end, and I raise up like this, just smash on, and I'm going, my feet under the bass drum like this to try and sell myself. It doesn't happen. I go over the back, drum kit lands on top of me, and all this lot were just doubled over laughing while I'm lying down there trying to get a breath. But we got a great round of applause. Another one I like, and you know, you couldn't do this again in 100 years. We used to have, what's it called, a voltage leveler, because the mellotron was very susceptible to voltage going up and down, so we had a voltage leveler on stage. And I'm playing away, and as quite often happens, I just clicked the edge of the cymbal, and the stick flew out of my hand. So I'm diving down to grab another stick so I can carry on playing. The stick flies through the air and lands exactly on the off switch of the vault. So I get up there, everybody else has gone silent, and I'm going, and I'm looking around, I thought, why have they all stopped? And that song kind of feebly tinkled out.
All right, our next question comes from a place you guys just recently played, South Africa. David Walton from Durban, KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. He says, life on the road can obviously be very demanding. Do you follow any exercise or dietary program? And what do you do for relaxation? John, I'll toss that one to you. You guys are all in great shape. Is there any regimen that you do follow on the road?
Well, I think you've got to watch what you're eating, and for me it's important if I'm on the road. I really do stay away from any meat products at all. I just keep not. If there are any farmers here, I'm not against you at all. But I just find it's just easier to digest. And of course, we, what's wonderful nowadays is every hotel has a great keep fit situation. So you can go to the spa, you can go to the workout, go to the gym, and you do that every day. And it's just, you've just got to look after yourself. And I think if you listen to your body, it doesn't matter what you do in life. If you listen to your body, it will tell you exactly what you should be doing. It's not all the advertising boards, stop me, buy one, buy two, buy three. It's listen to yourself and say, no, I really need this today, or I don't need this. And I think that's the most important thing. Everything is a question of balance.
And of course, I know that you're a golfer, and Graham, you're a golfer. There's a mini golf here on the 15th deck if you need to let off some steam.
Yeah, well, it's a long way from the beach.
Last thing I won actually was a putting contest on a rolling ship, wasn't it?
It was. We actually didn't have to putt the ball. We put the ball down and just rolled around the deck every time.
And for Graham, for you all these years traveling, is it something you enjoy? You guys, go out in spurts throughout the year, so it's not 365 on, but...
Not really. I don't really enjoy traveling very much because you're never anywhere long enough to enjoy the place. You just sort of get in that morning, clean your teeth or do whatever, and then. But I do love playing live to people. That's why I do it.
Yeah.
Playing our music for you is just what makes it worthwhile.
What's the saying? It's you get paid for the 2 hours on stage, not for all the traveling or something to that effect.
That's the other way around.
The way
We
around,
don't get
okay.
paid for playing. We get paid for putting up with the rest of it.
Right. You'd do the playing for free if you could, exactly.
Yeah.
Justin, Nights in White Satin. This comes from Alyssa Mocker from Manalapan, New Jersey, back in my home territory. Nights in White Satin is my all-time favorite song, and it was our wedding song at our marriage 29 years ago.
Congratulations.
However, some have told me that it is about a gay relationship. Is this correct? And if not, what is it about?
If it is, I think I'm a lesbian.
And you wear the hat well. A lot of artists just like to let the songs be interpreted the way they are. Is that how you guys feel, especially you, John and Justin, with songwriting? Do you like when people ask you, hey, what does that mean? Or do you just say, you interpret it the way you see fit?
No, it obviously comes from personal experience ourselves, and it comes from, within my heart and about relationships and people around me. Often, not always, sometimes it's just a story. Sometimes it's just a song, and there's no deeper meaning than that. But the listener or the reader brings something to it that makes it more than that. and the listener's contribution, you know, can never be diminished really, or demeaned, because that I feel that, you know, right from Buddy Holly, I had my own world of imagination about what he was singing about. And it was only many years later that John and I went to Lubbock, you know, in the early days when we came to just to worship the shrine of our hero. But of course you have your own pictures, and what you bring to the song is probably more important than what is said. If you look at actually what is said, it's probably not very much. But it has, you know, an internal meaning to me. And some songs, of course, all of the songs I've written are very precious. Very precious, but I don't mean in that way. But you know, that they're from the heart. That's all, and that's it.
Sorry, I couldn't hear, so I don't know what you're saying.
So, don't bother with that.
You know, songs form the soundtrack of so many people's lives. I mean, obviously there are people here who can tell you, you know, where they were the first time they heard Nights in White Satin.
Well, I've learnt I'm a lesbian.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Well, you, I still like you. But, so when you're up there performing and singing some of these songs, you know, so what I'm getting at is when they hear some of these songs, it takes them back. It takes them back to a certain time, a certain place. For you, John and Justin, when you're singing these songs on stage, is it enough just to remember them, or do you sometimes find yourself going back to a certain time and place, whether it be where it was written or what inspired it?
And I think when you're on stage singing a song, you're actually living it right that second in time, and you're trying to deliver the song better than you've ever done it ever. And I'm not one of those people who go into the past. You know, it's all part of life's rich pattern, life's journey, and it's today that counts. It's like us being here now. You know, we're doing this live. And it's about today. And you have to, all the lyrics in the song, you have to believe those lyrics. So when you're singing them, they're from inside, as Justin said, they have to come from the heart, because you can't remember these lyrics. You have to know what they are. And it's like playing a guitar or any musical instrument or anything you do in life. It has to be part of you. Whatever you're doing has to be an extension of yourself. And I think that's what I try to do on stage all along.
All right, thank you. All right, another question from New Jersey again. This one's from Hillary Edelstein from Marlborough, not far from our last questionnaire in Manalapan. Graham, a lot of folks here on the cruise, if they've been caught any TV in their room, they've seen this documentary on the Moody Blues that's being played on there. And one of the scenes is when you made the appearance on The Simpsons. So, sticking with television, reality shows are all the rage. Would you ever consider doing a reality show? Could you see yourself doing one of them? Perhaps one of the music-based ones.
Let me think. I wouldn't mind doing a reality show for Playboy Channel. I mean, guys, who hasn't dreamed of that, eh? No, I wouldn't consider it. I just think that is cheap television nonsense and panders to the lowest thing in all of us.
And not to rag on reality shows, but just to go to the music-based ones, what are your feelings on some of those shows like The X Factor and Idol? Do you feel that that's a shortcut for people, or should they, you know, come up and work their way up the way so many of you bands who are still here today have done?
I thought American Idol for about the first 4, 5, 6 seasons was great. Because it's always good to find a channel for people to go forward and become available to the public and get a chance. I think the format is getting a little old and tired, but then again, so am I, so what can I say?
Yeah, I think, you know, we got together and we learned to play our instruments because we wanted to play our instruments. And the stardom thing had nothing at all to do with anything whatsoever. We just wanted to get on stage and play our songs, and everything else happens after that. I think if you chase a dream which is so far away and you achieve it, not from hard work, but you just achieve it, it'll disappear just as quick, just like a comet. It'll come and it'll go.
Yeah, I would say actually that you know, I think young people who make the big changes in music, who affect the big changes in music, that they understand that that stuff is a kind of product that they're being sold. But every kid at the age of 15 or 16, they'll grab any opportunity, and I would never condemn any young person for that. And obviously, there's been some great singers come up through these, you know, the talent shows like that. And I think they probably would have done. They would have risen to the top anyway, but Graham alluded to it, but it's a little bit, it's tough for them, because I've met a few of those in the last few years, kids who have come in the top sort of 5 of these reality shows, and unfortunately that 15 minutes of fame that they have will be with them for the rest of their lives, and that can be a burden later on. But I would never condemn anyone for taking that chance. And also, I would say we're particularly thankful for Simon Cowell, because a couple of times he has used nights. And the year before last, in the UK, there was a boy called Matt Cardle who won the I think X Factor or whatever it was, one of those. And the week before he won, he did a fantastic version of Nights in White Satin on Saturday night television, and live on the show, and it really was great. And everybody on the Sunday morning was scrambling trying to get this song, and of course he hadn't recorded it yet. And ours came back into the charts that week. Because obviously through the internet and stuff, you can people who didn't know about Nights, you could just Google it and find out, oh, there's that song, you know, and who did it. And it was fantastic for us. It came back in the charts in the UK for the 4th time because of Matt.
Yeah, very good.
And Simon has done it a couple of times. So that's it.
Lesbian songs are quite powerful. If there's anything else. All right.
Hey, I can spot it, you know. You put that dress on, baby.
I tried not to get a
Chase you around this boat, boy.
Okay.
What on earth was that? Just kidding.
Graham, it looks like it's you and me.
Hey, you two gotta travel around. Do you think the Moody Blues would have made it in today's world of the internet? The 4th members of the Moody Blues. Just give me a second here to...
Mood is a toilet.
All right, Graham, I'm going to throw it over to you now. This comes from Grant Bell, Woodbridge, Virginia. Grant, if you're on board. Which is your favorite song that was not a hit, or perhaps better put, which you were surprised was not a hit?
I'm not, you can't really say what a favourite is because each song brings something special to you. But maybe the song that I enjoyed and surprised me the most was one of Justin's called Fly Me High, which was very good guitar and a very well written song. And it wasn't that big a hit for us, but it was a big radio hit. But that sort of, you know, that became a favourite of mine because it was one of the early ones that directed us on the path that we've ended up on. So I enjoy that one. And of course, any one of mine amazes me, not a hit.
In terms of recording down the road, that's changed a lot. it's gone back full circle in a way to what it was like in the 60s and 70s when people clamored for singles, and then eventually over to albums, but now it seems to be just about singles. Download one track here, one there, so on and so forth. What is the plans going forward in terms of recording? Will we ever see another Moody studio album? Do you just perhaps maybe want to do some singles? I mean, obviously, you know, the body of work stands for itself, and when you have thousands of people who continue to see you night after night, perhaps new music is not at the top of their list, but some would like to see or hear.
Well, I think we should have had a new album just for this cruise. Perhaps next time.
Well, one of the questions was from Kenny Keene of Ocala, Florida. He was, a lot of artists have done unplugged CDs, acoustic. Any thoughts ever taking some of your songs, stripping them down, doing something like that?
I don't know. For me, when you go in the studio and you record a song, you record it exactly how you want it to be at that time. And as I say earlier, you know, to revisit it and do it again in a different way, it never has the same emotional impact, because when you write a song, in the old days we used to just sit around a little table and we used to play each other new songs. And you are really standing there naked, you know, because you
Oh yeah.
not in the physical sense. Remember, we have a lesbian on board. We sit around a table, and you know, it's something you've written from the heart, you know, and you've got to believe that the rest of the guys are going to love the song and do everything to it that they can to deliver this song in the way that you want it to be. And you know that they're going to do that anyway. But so that's where